Hello and welcome to my unconventional writing journey story today. So cozy up, grab a little drink or a snack and get comfy because we're about to dive into the craziness and I guess unconventionality, if that's a word. I don't know, but of my writing journey. Alrighty, let's get into it. I just want to start this off with a very quick introduction of who I am. I am Jazz, an indie author in Australia, and I am working on my current debut trilogy. I just got my new covers done for book 2. Book 1's will be coming in August, and then I'll also have the same style covering for book 3 as well. Confession time. I have not studied to write. Or to be a writer. Yeah. But that's not to say I haven't put in hours and hours and hours of research and studying in that department. I never went to a college or a university or a TAFE or anything like that. So I have spent many years worth of time researching into how to write, how to be a good writer, things to add into books, things to not add into books. And along the way I found a lot of inconsistencies, rules that just didn't make sense, and a lot of writing rules that as I was reading these best-selling novels and things that were in bookstores, that they weren't following these rules. And I was like, But anyways, all of that has led me to where I am today. But first let's rewind a little bit and go back to where I started. Now I may have said it's unconventional. I did not say it's unique. So as a child I was obsessed with writing, to say the least. A lot of spare moments I had, I would just spend hours and hours writing, working on stories for school, just stories for fun. I was compiling this USB hard drive filled with half-written stories. You name it, it's in there. It's just like a little abyss of stories that never got an ending, basically. And just kept working on my writing and working on it. When I started out writing, it was just something that I instantly was passionate about. I didn't really think, I want to become an author, so let me start working on writing. It just happened. And then fast forward a few years, I just had a moment where I realized I didn't want to keep just writing all these half-written stories and just filling up this USB of like dead stories, essentially. Stories that were never going to see the light of day because they had gigantic loopholes in them, or I just did not plan them at all. They were just a random idea that popped into my head and I was like, let's write about this! And I had fun while doing it, and it did teach me so much. I gained so many writing skills and it just really helped progress me along in my journey. So I don't regret having all of those stories in that USB by any means. But there was a moment when it did hit me and I was like, I actually want to take this seriously. I want to be a writer and I want to see my books in bookstores, and maybe be a bestseller someday would be amazing as well. And in that moment, during that time, I was in a bit of a religious era. We're not going to go into details about that, but essentially I grabbed one of those, my most recent half-written story, and decided to finish it off and actually write the book and self-publish. So I did that. I made my own cover, which I feel like my editing skills weren't amazing, but at the same time it wasn't too bad, alright? I edited my own cover, got the book printed through like Amazon, Kindle, direct publishing, and actually a few of my friends did buy it and things like that, but it didn't really go anywhere because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to promote it beyond just, you know, telling my friends and family about it and just hoping it would somehow magically blow up, which it did not. And thank goodness for that, because I don't like people knowing that I released that book, in all honesty. it's definitely not my best work. It was a good little story, alright? It was a good little story, but it's like very short story vibes. And had I rewritten that now, I could probably fit 3 books worth of content in what I crammed into something that was smaller than this, okay? Oh, yeah. It was part of the journey, and I accept that, and I don't hate it or anything, okay? But at the same time, Kindle direct publishing, publishing on Amazon is forever, as I unfortunately found out when I tried to remove it from Kindle. There is copies of it somewhere floating on the internet, and that kind of haunts me a little bit because I'm like, oh no, people can still read it. But I have closed it off from being able to be printed further than what's already out there. That's about the best you can do with Amazon as far as I have been able to find through research and through searching on the site as well. So lesson learned there. Don't publish anything that you don't want to later not be published anymore. At that moment, that book was like my deciding factor that I wanted to be a writer, and I was going to do whatever it took to get there. After I took that book down, I was starting to think about a proper book to write and really thoroughly release, and of course this is outside of my past religious era, so it wasn't kind of drowning in that direction where I sort of thought I had to write in that kind of way. But the thought hit me, the idea came. I think I was listening to a song at the time, and it kind of sparked a little thought in my head, and then I was like, ah, what about this? And then what about this? And it just kind of kept spiraling into an idea, which then I put another idea on top of, and I was like, this could be a cool book. So with all the other experience that I had started to gain and more research, I started writing it, and I finished it. It is From Ash and Ruin. Now, you'll notice it is quite small, okay? It is small. It's a fantasy, young adult, new adult. I don't really know what genre it fits into, to be honest, but it is small. And it's not like it's got tiny font either. Like, it's normal sized font. I am still evolving in some aspects of my writing, as I believe every writer is, and mine is learning how to like space and time things, how to stretch scenes that can be stretched a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail. It is very fast paced, and I feel like that's because that's how my mental space is. I'm just like all the time. And so I'm learning how to slow it down and pace things a little bit better. And that led book 2 to be slightly bigger. Book 3 is going to be a lot bigger, okay? Because I learned again as I was writing this book. What happens when I got close to the end of this book, I realized this was going to be a trilogy. And I had not planned the storyline for a trilogy. I had just started writing it and then went from there and just kind of had the base idea of how I wanted it to start and where it was going to go with the second book, but I didn't really progress as far as the whole story. So that was a bit of a kerfuffle for me. Book 2 brought a lot more planning into it because obviously I decided it was going to be a trilogy, so I needed to know how everything was going to work. I started looking into more like character planning, themes, and all of those sort of different aspects of books that just make it a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, more like value written, I guess. So yeah, I started doing all of that, and then by the time I finished book 2, I realized that I do actually thrive off of having books planned more. I like the freedom of being able to write within scenes, but I need a structure. So book 3, I completely planned. I outlined everything. I have all the chapters and what needs to be in the chapters in there, and then I can just go for it. That was really relieving to do. So I'm just kind of learning along this journey of writing and I guess being an author, which is still wild to me that I actually released 2 books and people read them and like them, and oh. Oh, it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind. Along these lines of releasing the first book, working on the second book, I started up Goodreads account and a BookTok account because I love BookTok and I wanted to be a part of it and I wanted to share my work as well, and that has a little following happening, which is super sweet, and I just love the BookTok community so much. They're such beautiful people and I love being a part of it. So that's a little growing aspect, but something not a lot of people tell you about, which I think I'll make a whole nother video about things you should know before you start self-publishing as an indie author, things they don't tell you or things that are really hard to find, and I feel like that will be beneficial. So I'll do one of those videos as well, but just on the aspect of book sales, no one really tells you what to do as an indie author or like how you're supposed to get your books out there and stuff without having an agent or a publishing joint or anything. So it's been a whole journey as well in that aspect. I have both of my books on as ebooks on Kindle Unlimited, so that is a great way for people to be able to read them for free, and I still make revenue from that, so I just feel like that's a huge win-win for people. Yeah, I do have plans to reach out to some agents next year. Once I've finished this trilogy, I already have my next series in mind, and I feel like it will be a really good one to be pitching with to agents with, and then hopefully get with a traditional publishing style. I know it's not for everybody, and a lot of indie authors are super successful just staying as indie authors, and that is so amazing for them, but I do have dreams of being with traditional publishing and getting my books in stores, like maybe doing like things like book tours. I don't know, it's really like wild to think about, but that is where my heart is at, and so next year I am going to try and get an agent and then try and get into the traditional publishing route, because I just think that would be so exciting and it would really help me become a bigger and better writer, I think. So that is my little writing journey. It's very unconventional. I didn't study, I don't have an agent, I don't really know a lot of other writers. I'm slowly starting to get into a little bit of the writing community, but yeah, it's kind of been on my own for most of this journey, I won't lie, and it's been exciting and also super daunting and a little bit surreal, especially having published the two already and then working on my third one. And when I have my friends or other people reach out and tell me how much they loved my books, it just like makes my heart just feel like it's going to explode, because this is my dream and it's really becoming a reality, and it's so exciting and crazy and wild and wonderful, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So thank you so much for chilling with me and listening to my little wild story of how I became a writer. Thank you so much, and if you did enjoy this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe and comment what else you'd like to see from me, and I will catch you next time.